The Dorians by Nick Cutter will be released tomorrow, and I have just finished it within like the last hour, so let's talk about it. Just a quick disclaimer, I did get this as an arc, but all of the reviews are my own opinions, and I'm making this voluntarily. Hi, I'm B. I mainly rate and review horror books, and today is one of those horror authors that has continuously come up on my TBR. And if you kind of are in the horror space, you probably know who this is. And this, of course, is Nick Cutter, author of The Troop, which is his most famous one, and the only other one that I have read apart from The Dorians, and I really loved it. So I went into this with quite high expectations, and it did meet them and didn't in other ways. But first, The Dorians is following a experiment where this bioengineered life form can give people infinite life, but also can de-age them. And it follows these subjects as they are going through this experiment. I rated this 3.75, which I think is not disagreeing with what a lot of the ARC readers have said, but it definitely is lower than some of the ARC readers. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot. I definitely enjoyed the plot and I enjoyed the idea of this book. The concept is really cool. I really like the name The Dorians. It's very funny. But often in this book felt to me like it was read more like a science fiction than it did a horror. There wasn't that much scariness going on until the very end, and even then it wasn't that scary. And I get things don't have to be scary, but it didn't feel like of the caliber that like the Troop did. I really liked the characters though. There are some characters that were definitely standouts for me, and there were some characters that were kind of just fine. Character work is really interesting because the idea of de-aging and what it means to you is very interesting, and I think it's something that the book does just explore quite well and does explore it a lot. There is a lot of scenes that are just all about like kind of retrospectives on these people's lives, which makes sense because they're all old, so they're all like reflecting on their life and how they can relive it again, and it is interesting. However, there were some characters that I feel like were set up to have way worse fates than they did. I'm not gonna spit any specifics on that. Same with the epilogue and the ending. I didn't particularly love it. I think it was a bit lackluster in a lot of ways, and I think it also could have done with having a bit more. I don't know, more. It just felt like a little bit like I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of the end, I guess. But overall, this was still very good, and I still very much recommend it, especially if you like Nick Cutter's previous books, then you'll definitely enjoy this. I think it definitely had some semblance to the Troop, and I think it wasn't as gross, not nearly as gross as the Troop was, but it definitely had moments which were very like, ironically, some of the bits that made me feel that way were nothing to do with the weirdness going on. It was just things to do with the general visceralness of the way that he describes injury.